By the early 2020s, the tension between Iran, Israel, and the United States was no longer quiet, even if it was not officially declared as war. The nuclear agreement that once slowed enrichment had fractured, and negotiations to revive it moved in circles without resolution. Each report from international inspectors about higher uranium purity levels increased alarm in Washington and Jerusalem. Israeli officials publicly stated that Iran was approaching what they described as a nuclear threshold. Iranian officials responded that pressure and sanctions had forced them to accelerate technological independence. The language hardened on all sides. Inside Syria, Israeli airstrikes targeting Iranian-linked facilities became more frequent. Military analysts describe these operations as part of a campaign to prevent advanced missile systems from reaching Hezbollah in Lebanon. Iran did not respond with direct war, but it expanded support to allied groups across the region. Rocket exchanges flared periodically between Israel and factions in Gaza. In Iraq, militias aligned with Iran targeted U.S. installations with drones and rockets. Each incident was limited, contained, and answered in proportion, yet each added another layer of strain. By 2023 and 2024, regional instability deepened. Naval confrontations in the Gulf raised fears about shipping lanes. Cyber attacks intensified, with infrastructure and defense systems reportedly targeted on all sides. The United States increased military deployments in the region as a deterrence signal. Israel conducted military exercises simulating long-range strikes. Iranian military parades displayed new missile and drone capabilities. Public messaging shifted from defensive rhetoric to warnings of decisive action if red lines were crossed. What made the situation volatile was not a single dramatic event, but the accumulation of smaller ones. A drone intercepted here, a missile strike contained there, a facility damaged but not destroyed. Each side calculated carefully, avoiding steps that would trigger immediate total war, yet gradually narrowing the space for de-escalation. Diplomacy existed, but trust was minimal. Back-channel talks produced temporary pauses without lasting solutions. By the mid-2020s, analysts described the region as balanced on deterrence rather than peace. Iran continued advancing enrichment beyond previous limits, arguing it was within its sovereign rights. Israel emphasized that it would not tolerate a nuclear-armed adversary that openly questioned its existence. The United States attempted to balance diplomatic engagement with strategic pressure, maintaining sanctions while reinforcing regional alliances. Military hardware, intelligence coordination, and defense systems all expanded simultaneously. When escalation finally moved closer to open confrontation, it did not feel sudden to those who had watched the pattern for years. It felt like gravity taking over. Decades of distrust, 2 decades of shadow conflict since 2000, and years of stalled negotiations had brought Iran, Israel, and the United States into a position where every move carried amplified consequence. The air grew heavier with each statement from military officials. Civilian populations on all sides lived under the awareness that escalation could shift from controlled strikes to broader warfare at any moment. The boiling point was not one explosion, it was the realization that deterrence might fail. It was the understanding that one miscalculated strike, one misunderstood signal, or one retaliatory step taken too far could transform years of contained hostility into open war. The tension between Iran, Israel, and the United States had become structural rather than episodic. It was built into military planning, intelligence doctrine, and national security strategy. And so the region entered a new phase, not yet total war, but no longer merely a shadow conflict. A phase where every action was watched by satellites, every speech analyzed by global markets, and every military movement measured against the possibility of escalation. The story that began quietly after 2000 had now reached a point where silence itself felt unstable.